going to try a voiceover on this one, and I don't know how I'll do, but we're going to try it. I'm looking at these recordings, and I don't love them either, but I am learning as I go. This is a bread I've made a few times, and I really like it. It's from a book called Flour, Water, Salt, Yeast. I've mostly taken their instructions, and I've done it a few times now, and I enjoy making it. So here we go. I kind of have my ingredients laid out. I have 1,000 grams of flour, and that's 780 grams of warm water, approximately 90, 95 degrees. And this is called an autolyse. You are essentially hydrating the flour. You're not adding any of the yeast in yet, any of the salt in yet. You can see I have them in that small bowl. Sometimes I do this with my hands. He does it with his hands in this book. It makes a mess. As you can see my hand there, it's very wet, very sticky, because there's no gluten, there's no nothing yet. It's just flour and water. So sometimes I'll use like a silicone spatula or something. You can see me here trying to get some of that sticky dough off of my fingers, but that's the deal. Now this part. So I totally missed my mixing. I pushed the record button and I was on camera, not mix. So at this point I've already added my 22 grams of salt and 0.08 grams of yeast. I had to buy myself a scale that would go into decimals to do the overnight bread, because it's not a full gram of yeast even. So then I go through. He instructs you to do what's called the pincer method. You can see me kind of pincing it between my thumb and index finger, and I just pinch it, and then I go through, flip it over, pinch it again. At this point, the dough, as you can see, is still very wet. I got that bit of water behind my bowl there that I dipped my hand in, but at this point the dough is still very wet, still very sticky, so my hands are still, getting wet and sticky. But this is the closest thing to a knead that you're doing with this dough. The rest of it is just time. I'm not a baker, but I've read there's 2 different ways to develop gluten, and that is either time or kneading. So this one is time. This is my first stretch. I'm going to do 3 altogether, and they're essentially the same thing. So maybe I'll speed up 1 and 2 because it's going to be the same thing. I go in and I grab a corner with a wet hand so it's not quite so sticky, and I fold it into the middle. And I do that 4 or 5 times. Stretch it out, fold it into the middle. You're stretching it until you can feel that there's, no more give, it's about to tear. And then I flip it over, kind of pull it back into the middle, and I'm going to let it rest again. There was about 20 minutes there in between the mixing and that first stretch. So here's stretch number 2. And again, you want to, for an overnight, he suggests 3 stretches. So this is stretch number 2, and he says you do them within the first hour and a half. So I space these out roughly 20 minutes in between each stretch. Stretch number 2, same thing. Grab a corner, stretch it out as far as it'll go, fold it over, and then when you're done, flip it over. Let it rest for 20 more minutes, and then I came back and did stretch number 3. So here's stretch number 3, the exact same thing. All right, so now I've let it rest overnight, covered that up, let it rest overnight. This is the next morning. Bring it over, and I gotta divide it and then shape it. So here I'm just getting everything ready. I'm almost out of flour. He flours just the rim of his bowl and his countertop. So go in and I'm going to flour just kind of the rim of the bowl so that it comes out a little simpler. Then I'm going to dump it over onto my counter. Trying not to ruin the gluten that we've made overnight. I need to get myself one of those plastic or silicone scrapers so I can do this a little better. And plop. Now I'm going to just kind of eye it up. I'm going to put a line of flour down what I think is the middle. And then I'm going to come back with my dough scraper or whatever it's called right down the middle and divide this into 2 pieces. Now, he doesn't talk about this in his book, but when I'm going to shape these, I utilize, just from watching lots of other people, lots of other videos, you can see I'm going to utilize my bench scraper a lot because it's much less sticky than my fingers are. So when I'm coming in here, I'm just creating tension. So I push it out, pull it in, quarter turn, push it out, pull it in, quarter turn, creating tension on the top of that dough. Making a nice round ball there. Unfortunately, I kind of had that out of frame there, but that's what I'm doing. And then going on to my second one, I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to fold my corners in a little bit here. Flip it over. Use my dough scraper as well. And creating tension. Push it out, pull it in. Push it out, pull it in. I probably had a little bit too much flour on my countertop here, but hopefully it still turns out all right. So now we're going to throw these in these bannetons, and I make a little bit of a mistake right here. I forget to flour my banneton before I put it in there, which I've had. If you look closely, you can see bits of old dough still in those. That's because I didn't flour them. So I'd probably over flour here. See, here's where I make the mistake. I put it in, I hadn't floured it, so I pull it back out, flip it back over, and here I come in and I flour it. I maybe go a little heavy, but I'm trying to not have it stick to that fabric in those bannetons. And you want to put the seam side down, so pick it up and just plop it in there, don't flip it over. And same thing here. Now I'm going to take these and let them rest for another hour and a half. Let them finish proofing. All right, I've preheated my oven to 475, and now I'm going to take my dough and I'm going to throw it in the Dutch ovens. I got 2 different types of Dutch ovens here. One's more for camping, one's more for baking, but they're what I have. You can see right here, I put that one in. It goes in nicely. And then, so remember how I said, oh, I think I've over floured the bannetons? Yeah, apparently I did not over flour this one. Had a probably the hardest time I've ever had getting some dough out of a banneton was this right here. I've completely ruined the top of that, but it is what it is. Now I'm going to big old thumbs down here. Small editor's note here as I watch this back. There's 2 things here that I do that some people might not do. The first thing is out of the book. He does not score the top of his loaves of bread. He feels that if you put them seam side up, which I've done here, if you pay attention, I roll them from my bannetons directly into the Dutch oven seam side up. Then those seams, as it bakes, are naturally going to open up, and he likes that look. And I'm following the book. I've done it both ways. I I'm perfectly fine with it that way. The second thing, he drops it onto the countertop first and then puts it into the Dutch oven. But where I'm going seam side up, you'll see, drop it directly into the Dutch oven because I don't see the point of dropping it on the countertop and then into the Dutch oven. It's probably wrong, but that is the way I do it. And since I'm not going to score the top anyways, that's the way I do it. Now I'm going to take these and I'm going to throw them in the oven. I put down a cookie sheet on the bottom because I find if I don't, I burn the bottoms. So I put a cookie sheet in my oven on the bottom. I'm going to cover up these two Dutch ovens and I'm going to throw them in the oven for approximately 30 minutes. The Dutch oven part is completely to hold in the steam, and it really makes for a nice crust. Then later we'll take them out of the Dutch oven, or take the tops off the Dutch ovens so that they get nice and brown. Forgive my terrible camera work here. I was holding it in one hand and trying to do it. I always hear YouTubers complain about that, and now I guess I can feel their pain. See all that steam rolling out of that oven as I come in here. I'm going to pull this out a little bit and pull the top off of the one Dutch oven. That loaf is looking delicious. This top is a little tougher to pull off with one hand, so I'm contemplating putting it on a tripod. I should have just put the camera on a tripod. But anyways, got it off. And even the one that I screwed up the top still looks delicious. So here they go back in. I'm going to let them get more brown for another 20 minutes or so. And here they come. They look so nice. Here's the first one. Flip it over. It's got, nice and brown. That's the second one. It's even more brown. That's the one I jacked up the top, but they still look delicious. I'm going to let them rest on a wire rack for about 40 minutes, or at least 40 minutes until they're fully cooled down. And then we will have some fresh made bread. These are delicious. Even the kids tend to like them. The crust is very crusty this first day for sure. If you leave it in a plastic bag, it kind of softens up. So my son doesn't really like the harder crust. So after a day or so in a plastic bag, it's nice and soft. And he enjoys the bread a lot. These will last, like I said, I put them in a plastic bag. These will last 4 or 5 days in a plastic bag. It's amazing the difference between fresh ingredients and store-bought preservatives, because they just don't last all that long. So while they're wonderful and delicious and fresh, eat them up, give them to your neighbors, do whatever you want with them. Again, I hope God blesses you all as much as I'm blessed. I thank him every day for all the things that I have. And signing out.